That's so cool.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hooty hoo.
We're live for the StabCast. I'm Dizzle,
And I am Mindy.
and we're here to talk some big news today. We have I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yes, we do.
We also are going to be paying tribute to a fallen legend. Are we doing that first, or are we going through some news first?
Why don't we do the Fallen Legend thing first? If everyone doesn't know already, which I'm sure you do, because I know a lot of you do watch my lives and watch my videos and everything.
Yeah.
So we did lose a horror icon, a horror legend, and Tony Todd a couple of days ago. I don't know what happened. He doesn't know what happened. All we know is that it's under investigation. They haven't said that it's natural causes or anything yet.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, because everyone keeps on getting this man's date of birth wrong, and it's pissing me off. He's 69. He wasn't 67. He wasn't 68. 69. You have no idea how many articles in 68, 67. It's ridiculous. 69. Okay. But yeah, so very, very upsetting. Unfortunately, that does mean that Final Destination 6 will not be happening anytime soon. Because unfortunately, Tony Todd was the front runner for that movie.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's no longer here and they didn't finish it, I mean,
Tough bananas.
yeah, like they can't put someone in his place because that's just bullshit. You can't do that. Like, no one else is the coroner but Tony Todd. It's just the way it is. And like, fight me, I don't care. But he's done a lot of things for horror.
Yeah.
I mean, this man is a genius. When the first Candyman came out, he was okay with having live bees in his mouth.
Yeah.
Because he made a deal that he would get paid $2,000 for every bee sting. That man is a genius.
That's crazy.
Genius, that man is. So, I don't know. I've always really liked him. I can't help it. It's just, for me, him and Robert Englund are like neck and neck. I love both of them.
Yeah.
I really do. And so, unfortunately, rest in peace, Tony Todd. I hope if your family sees this and whatnot, you know that you guys are in our prayers and everything.
Yeah,
So,
R.I.P. to a legend. I mean, I remember my first things to him wasn't Candyman. It was from the Final Destination franchise.
yep.
So seeing him in that, and
The Final Destination 2, I believe, because wasn't that the first one you watched?
yeah, he was in the second one, but he did the voice for the third one as well for the roller coaster monster.
Yeah, he was in the first one too.
Yeah.
And he was in the second one, which is the first one you saw. And then he was in the roller coaster. And then he was in the last one, which was not the Final Destination 5.
Yeah.
And he was in there as a coroner because it was a prequel.
Yeah. So I remember him a lot from that. He also, in the DC universe, he voices Darkseid for the animated movies. And he's done Venom for Spider-Man games. He has been a great voice actor. He's been a great actor. Tony Todd is a legit icon. So it's not just, even he's a horror icon too. But, you know, The Crow and the Candyman, of course, and a lot of other things. But we lost someone that truly, and, you know, 69 years old, right?
Yeah.
So it's still kind of young. And it's sad because he was such an enigmatic figure and such a badass dude to where it sucks for everybody. But rest in peace and all our love and condolences to the family.
Yep. Only thing else that I would want to say is that to me, Tony Todd is kind of like the Morgan Freeman of horror.
I can see that.
Basically, he's got the voice for it. He's got the tone for it. That's just the way I see it. So.
He was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And R.I.P.
All right, so now we have some very exciting horror movie news. Not the one that I was already promoting earlier. That you guys are going to have to wait a little bit for. But our horror movie news is The topic 1 is new movies, which is the Hederick starring Hugh Grant. If you guys don't know who Hugh Grant is, he was a big actor in like the 90s, 2000s kind of thing. I think he was like in The Diary of Bridget Jones, I believe, something like that, in 9 months, I think, too. And then that just hit theaters. And then we have Black Cab, that just hit Shudder. And then we have Elevation, that just hit theaters as well. And then we have Meanwhile on Earth, also theaters. So this is a big weekend for horror. Because normally you do not have this many movies that are in the theaters.
Yeah.
And then you have Drive Back, which is an Amazon Prime movie. So, yep, that's our horror movie news.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like a news anchor when I go like this. It's like, this is the end of the horror movie news.
You are. All right.
Oh, man.
So to the main event of the evening. I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is a favorite of ours, one of my favorite slashers. A Kevin Williamson penned script, directed by Jim Gillespie or whatever the fuck. And I think this is a really fun movie. Oh, he did. Yeah. Starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Freddie Prinze Jr. Maybe, besides, if you got Johnny Galecki's bitch ass out of there, maybe the sexiest cast in all of Hollywood. Because those
I think that's why they killed them off.
Yeah.
As soon as they could. Yeah. This like go to Big Bang Theory. Bye-bye.
Yeah, because the rest of them are like ripped straight off from a fucking like a supermodel magazine.
Freddie Prinze Jr. back in the day was very, very handsome. Yeah. I didn't like Ryan Phillippe in this role as much as I did Cruel Intentions, which I really got to tell you guys this joke. I find it hilarious that a year after this was made, they came out with Cruel Intentions. Yeah. And that was Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar too, and they were sexually involved as well, but they were siblings. Yeah. I mean, they were step siblings, but still, they were siblings.
That movie's fun gross. Too. But they're all extremely beautiful. Ryan Phillippe's handsome as hell, and Barry's a fun character, if not a piece of shit.
And Jennifer Love Hewitt has aged like a fine wine.
Well, yeah. And she's one of the most beautiful women ever. But her as a scream queen was a fun experiment. And her doing this, and it's fun because, her and, what's her name? Neve Campbell. They started out on the same sitcom. Mm-hmm. I forgot what sitcom it was. Yeah, Party of Five. So it's funny, Neve Campbell went on to do something, and now Jennifer Love Hewitt's doing a big Kevin Williamson movie. And I think a lot of people think of this as like in the Scream, like Scream came out and then a bunch of movies like it came out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily fair because this isn't really trying to be meta. This is more old school slasher.
Yeah. And it's based off a book too.
Yeah.
So it's not like just like your run of the mill slasher kind of thing. Like, no, like this actually has some meat and potatoes behind it.
It does.
It actually has a plot, a very good plot behind it. And I will have to say, Kevin Williamson is such an amazing writer. And he doesn't even need a writing partner. That's what's so amazing about him. He is just such an amazing writer that this movie just sucks you in. Yeah. And what's really funny, because I don't know if you remember this or not, but what's absolutely hilarious is that this movie was actually the very first movie that Dizzle ever saw. Because I was watching this movie at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, I hear a gasp behind me from little 3-year-old Dizzle over here. And I walk over to the recliner, and he's like crouched behind the wall in the recliner, like looking, and it's like, oh God, I have two choices. I either send him to bed, he gets nightmares, and I get in trouble, or I let him watch this with me and I explain to him that it's all fake. Yeah. So I took the latter, and that's why he is the way he is now.
So we have a podcast.
That's why we have a podcast and a TikTok channel and everything else, because of this movie, basically. For me, it was Scream. I mean, yeah, I saw a lot of other movies before Scream. It was more so Candyman would be the first one. And for him, it's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah. Because it's a movie that's special to my heart. It's a fun movie. But you were talking about the book written by Lois Duncan.
Yeah, you said that she didn't like it.
No, it's very known that she's not a fan of this because, and I think it's for good reasoning. We might have to look it up to make sure, but her daughter, she wrote the book as a tribute to her daughter, I think, and I think her daughter really passed away, or if it wasn't a daughter, it was like someone like that.
Okay.
So
the person that got hit and run was basically a family member or someone close to her. Is what you're saying. So she would probably want more of like a dramatic take on it.
Well, because
than a horror take. I could see that.
And also because that book isn't she hated it. Well, because with the book, it wasn't a slasher book.
Yeah.
That's not what it was supposed to be.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. But so the fact that they took her book, because it's more of a mystery novel, and even the guy, he's not a killer, based like in the book, the villain, he's fucking with people, and he actually messes, like he screws with people. But
yeah, because he's trying to get them to confess.
He doesn't really kill people though. No. So the fact that they took that and they took her young adult novel and turned it into a bare bones slasher, I think she was really upset with that.
Yeah.
And
completely understandable, by the way.
Yeah.
Completely understandable, especially if it was on someone that she lost. Like, then she probably wanted a drama or something made out of it, not a slasher.
Yeah. So the fact that they kind of took her, because it's not this. If you read I Know What You Did Last Summer, the book and the movie are way different. Yeah. That shitty show that came out a couple of years ago on Amazon Prime, that's closer to the book. It's not good, but
it's really not good. It is so freaking bad. I never thought that the girl that played Riley from Scream, the TV series, would be in something that bad. That was horrible.
I did.
But anyways, let's talk about the budget a little bit. So it was released on 10/17/1997, which is really funny because a few days later, this one was born.
Yeah.
And the budget that they had was $17 million, which, damn, that's a huge budget. And box office, they brought home $125.3 million. So they didn't really make their money back.
Yeah.
I mean, technically they did make their money back, but they didn't make much of a profit.
Yeah.
After that. So, I mean, it was critically panned by critics that they didn't like it and whatnot. But over the years, it has become a cult classic.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And it does. Yeah, it has its fan base.
Yeah.
And it was good enough to warrant a sequel not too long ago, long after, with Brandy in it. So
yeah.
And
Jack Black was in that movie as well.
That's insane. And then we think about the third one, which is Ass.
Yeah, the third one from now on, from what I was told, the third one is no longer canon. It's a standalone movie.
I like how
they kicked it out.
I like how franchises do that now when there's a shitty movie. It's like, that's not in the universe anymore.
Yeah, they kicked it out of the universe.
That's funny.
So, let's get into it a little bit. Okay. So, basically, you open up to a beauty pageant, which is really, you open up to a beautiful scenery of mountains and stuff in the dark, and you see this young man playing with a coin, and as he's playing with the coin, he's flipping it and whatnot, and like you don't really know what's going on. You don't even see the guy's face, but you do see a shadow behind this man. And then it goes to the beauty pageant then Helen is taking a part of, and Barry, Ryan Phillippe, Ray, which is Freddie Prinze Jr., Julie, which is Jennifer Love Hewitt, and then Helen is Sarah Michelle Gellar. I almost said Buffy.
Helen Shivers.
Yeah, her name is Helen Shivers. Daniel wanted to put that in there. But yes, so you see them all on the balcony. They're all watching her. They're all cheering her on to be a beauty queen and everything. And Ray was even like, "Oh my goodness, she has really big tits." And like, it's like that's hilarious because the two of them are married now. I wonder if they bring that up.
Yeah, and it's funny. A funny note about this movie is that this was Kevin Williamson wrote this, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll sit on it." And then Scream came out, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll do it right now. We'll do it right now."
Yeah,
they're
this
like,
was written before Scream.
yeah, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll see." And then that Scream fucking killed. They're like, "Yeah, you're right. We'll do it now."
Yeah.
Also, having and I know we're talking about the movie, but the footprint that this movie kind of casted. Scary Movie was one of the biggest movies of the 2000s. And a lot of people just think of that as a Scream parody. No, it's a horror movie parody. And this is one of the movies that it parodies. It does the exact hitting the fucking...
Yes, but also it does have another... We do have another parody movie from the 2000s, which is more based on this movie and urban legend. And that is Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So it's a huge title, but I mean that's what it's called.
So this movie had some big impact. Yeah, these are four beautiful people all celebrating a night together, all driving fast.
They're all seniors. Their friend just won her beauty pageant. It's gonna be the last time that they're all gonna be together for a while, and so they want to go party. They want to go on the beach and they want to go have fun. And after hearing it from her sister, Helen and them got into the car, and thank God Ray had a head on his shoulders and was like, "No, I'm driving."
Yeah.
And so they got to the beach perfectly fine and everything, and then they start this scary story about this escaped mental patient and these two people making out in a car, and somebody heard one of them heard a noise, so they went outside, and then the girl hears a noise, and they kept on saying that it was like a scratching sound from the hook, or it was drip 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 from the blood, or it was a pound from the feet hanging up on a tree on the car. So what's really funny is they tell the story in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
That's what's hilarious to me, is that this movie is so meta and so aware that they tell the story that they're going to be going through.
Yeah.
That's what really, really, really blows my mind, honestly. Because they did it in a correct way, too.
True.
And then they get back in the car. Barry's like, "Oh, let's blast music and act like an asshole." I'm pretty sure the script just said, "Here, be a dick."
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And he spills his beer everywhere. He distracts Ray, and then boom, they hit somebody.
Yeah.
So Ray, all of them get out of the car, and Ray goes to the man, and he just looks at him. He doesn't check his pulse. He just looks at the guy, and he looks back at everybody, and he goes, "I think he's dead." Not one of them checked that man's pulse. Not one of them. They all had the opportunity. None of them made sure he was dead.
And that's something they make fun of in Scary Movie, right? When they're doing it, and they're like,
Yes.
"No, he's dead. He's dead." He's like getting up. He's like, "Guys, like, no, you're dead."
And they throw like the shoe at him and stuff. They're like, "Look, a shoe!" And they throw it at his face.
This has to be the most relatable part of the movie, and this is closest to what happened in the book, even though it's a little kid. We've all related to being young and having fun and not giving a fuck, maybe drinking a little bit, maybe just hanging out and having fun and being wild, and then shit goes down. And then you don't run over a dude usually, but something that you break, somebody's parents' vase or something fucked up happens.
You break the TV.
And it brings you all into reality, and you're like, what do we do? What do we do? And you're all panicking. This is a very relatable part of young adulthood / teenager, even though all these people are young adults by this point. But
absolutely. So they tried to basically pull him off to the side of the road because Max, who has a really big thing for Julie, who's actually the Big Bang Theory guy that we just talked
Johnny
about.
Galecki.
He is distracted by Julie. Ray comes up and he's like, "Oh, what can I do for you, pal?" And he's like, "You can wipe that shit-eating grin off your face."
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously they were both like poor kids, but Freddie Prinze Jr. was prettier than him, so he ended up being the popular one. It's basically the way I see it. So then they decide that they're going to dump this man's body into the lake or into the river. And they still haven't checked his pulse. Still.
Yes.
They've not checked the man's pulse. I want you guys to really know this. So then they start fighting over who's going to push him. Barry's all ready, but he's like, I need someone to help me. Ray's like, I don't think I can do it. And Helen's like, oh, you guys are pussies. I'll do it. So she bends over, and as soon as she bends over, the guy that they think is dead grabs her crown as they push him into the lake.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And Barry goes after the crown and everything. If the man was dead, why did he grab the crown?
Yeah.
And if you're swimming down there already to grab the crown, why wouldn't you just grab the dude?
Exactly.
This all could have been avoided by that.
Yeah, you just killed that guy. At this point,
if you guys really would have took his pulse and everything, like everything would have been fine. You guys would have been in the clear. It would have just been an accident.
Yes.
But y'all fucked up when you decided to do that. Because I'm sorry, if someone's dead, they're not going to snatch the crown out your head.
And by the way, Ray, as much as I love Freddie Prinze Jr., he's got to be the biggest pussy in all of cinema.
Absolutely. To let Barry go after Julie the way that he did.
Yes.
Helen and Ray are both responsible for that. And I think that's why Julie ran away to college so quickly.
Well, yeah, and it's like, that's your girlfriend, dog. And you're letting this dude fucking basically choke her to death. Like,
yeah, none of them cared. None of them said anything. It was horrible.
And they were all scared. And that's...
I mean, it was realistic, though. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
It was very realistic because they were all like, oh, shit, like, what are we going to do? If the police do get involved, how are we going to get out of this?
And Barry, the rich kid who probably has the most to lose out of the group and can get in serious trouble, is, no, we're taking this...
Shit.
Yeah, we're taking this to our fucking grave. We're not going to get in trouble for this. This is how it's fucking going down. He's a passionate, like, almost coke-driven young man, even though he's not on coke that we know of. But he's this fucking wild, and he's my favorite character in the movie because of that. Because he's such a wild, like, but it's also he's a wild card, but it's also he's not reacting in a way that other people wouldn't react. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's being
without sympathy.
Yes, yeah, and yes, he's being an asshole, but not everyone would be the Ray and be like, oh, just a nice guy. You know, so some guys like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I have to fucking get out of this. And that's kind of what he was, portraying.
Yeah, he was trying to like be the head of the group because I'm sure he sobered up real quickly.
Yeah.
So he was trying to be a part of the group, basically. He was trying to be the head of the group and be like, we're taking this to our fucking graves, I'll say it. And Julie just nodded her head and then said, sure. And he's like, you need to say it. And that's when he like got on her throat and stuff. And it's like, Jesus Christ, stick up for her.
Yeah.
Come on. I would have ran away to college too. And so then they go into a bunch of years and what not a bunch of months and whatnot. And Julie is at college. She doesn't want to come home, but she got told basically that by her friend that she has to go home.
Yeah, you gotta go home.
And she gets back, and her mom, trying to get a reaction out of her, goes, "Are you on drugs?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "I'm so sorry. I just really wanted to get a reaction out of you. You haven't talked at all." So, and then like she gives her a letter, and she's like, "This was in the mailbox, and there's no return or postage on it or anything." And she opens it up, and it says, "I know what you did last summer."
Yes.
And like she stays up all night and whatnot. Like it's just 7 words, honestly, and she's sitting there like reading it like it's the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. It's just 7 words.
It's 7 words, for God's sake.
So then she and this shows how much they don't know about each other anymore, as she goes to Helen's family's store, and she asks Helen's older sister for her New York number.
Yes.
And it turns out Helen isn't in New York anymore. Helen's back home. She's been back home. She's actually working at the store. So she went over there, and she's like, "Oh, what happened?" And Helen's like, "Well, I went, but it just didn't work out, so I came back."
Mm-hmm.
And like you can just tell that there's just this unmountable tension between them.
Yeah.
And it was actually between all of the kids, honestly. All of them had a tension between them, because an strain between them.
Well, yeah, that something like that will kind of do something to a friend group, you know. They all have this kind of guilt, this weird guilt. Barry's kind of doing his own thing, and he he looked like an asshole that night. It's kind of hard to come back from, and I'm sure Helen noticed that, and Ray, like I said, Ray was a pussy, and so he kind of stayed home and did the fisherman deal. And it's fun to see all these characters from the beginning, and then you kind of see, well, these are where their lives are at now.
Yeah.
And it does a good job at showing that they're growing up. They've grown up from the mistake that they made a year ago.
Exactly.
In different ways.
And they're also growing away from each other, too.
Yes.
And one major thing I really like about this, it happens because Barry, they basically all get together at Barry's house. Barry's like, you know what? It's got to be Max. I'm going to go to the fisherman thing, and I'm going to kick his ass. Yeah. And then that's when they run into Ray. And Barry leaves. He left his imprint on Max, so he's like, I'm gone. Helen's like, "Oh yeah, my lunch hour is up. Tell me how you went to 3 different places for like a good little portion of the movie, and now your lunch break's over."
Yes.
Your lunch break should have been over a while ago. But okay. But the thing I love about Ray and Julie's interaction is they try to talk to each other a little bit, and then Ray is like, "I know you hate me for that night, and I'm really sorry." And she's like, "Ray, I don't hate you, but I don't want to know you either."
Yeah.
And that just hit me in the heart there. Like that was just so well craftedly written.
Yeah, it was a good one
by Mr. Williamson. Like that was so good, because she could have been like, "I don't hate you. I just don't want to be a part of your life anymore. But just, I don't hate you, but I don't want to know you either." Like that's just so short, sweet, very good. I really liked that. Yeah. And then the Hook Man. Now you got to remember, the Hook Man, he remembers that Max basically drove past when the kids were killing him and trying to get rid of the body and everything, and Max drove past that motherfucker.
Yeah.
So, of course,
Max is the number one suspect.
Max is the number one kill. He's the first victim.
Yeah.
Because of that. And that's actually where the fisherman guy gets his hook. It's a 2-for-1. And
it pays off the story at the beginning, too.
Exactly. So, because they still think it's Max. Because it's one of those, like, it's not an off-screen kill, but it's one of those where it's off-screen for our protagonists.
Yeah, they don't know.
So, they have no idea what's going on with Max. Barry, he gets the douchebag treatment. He's at the gym,
This is one of my favorite scenes.
And you want to take it?
Well, no, you can go ahead.
He's at the gym, and he's punching it out and shit and whatnot. Took a shower and like figured out that like his jacket was gone, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And the security guard is like, "Hey, has anybody else been here?" And he's like, "Nope, just me and you, guy." And he's like, "What the hell? What is going on?" And all of a sudden, he hears his car start. And he runs outside and he sees this guy in his jacket in his car getting ready to drive away with it. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then all of a sudden the car's like, "Oh, there you are." Yeah. And like the person just turns the car around and then Barry's like, "Oh shit." And he had to like run as fast as he could, honestly. And at this point the hook man is just kind of messing with them because he really could have killed Barry that night. Yeah. Barry was completely defenseless. He really could have killed him. And Barry even says that in the hospital later. He's even like, he's fucking with us because if he wanted me dead, he would have done it. Yeah. And so he didn't get hit by the car, but he did get like his arm broken and small stuff. Injury, yeah. Small injuries. But, I mean, he was more freaked out than anything. I'm pretty sure he pissed his pants.
And I think it's a well-done, creepy scene.
Yes.
Like, just him walking through the gym and later on when Hummer becomes an athlete and I'm, like, wrestling and stuff and, like after school and I'm, like, lifting by myself, I would think of this scene sometimes and it's like, I wonder if someone's in here. And so That one definitely stuck with me, and it is a creepy, because we've all been in that situation where we're somewhere by ourselves. Yeah. Maybe not, especially now that I've kind of, I'm not the fittest guy on the block, so maybe it won't be in the gym. Yeah, a public bathroom. Yeah, exactly. So it was just eerie and creepy, and like it goes from like working out by yourself and like tranquility to like, oh my god, I'm being stalked. So like. Yeah. I think that's, as far as a slasher, that's something that this movie did really well. Is when the fisherman's coming after you, it feels real.
Yeah, it's very suspenseful, too.
Yes.
When the fisherman's coming at you. It's kind of like you can feel like you're looking through the killer's POV. Even though that wasn't meant to be a thing, yeah, you kind of felt that way. Exactly. Just a little bit. And then Helen, she gets her little visit. And the guy makes coleslaw out of her hair. And like writes on her mirror soon and lipstick and whatnot because he's screwing with her. He's screwing with all of them. Yeah. And then Julie is on her way to go see what's going on with Helen. And she hears like a tapping sound on the trunk and everything. And she's like, what the hell's going on? So she pulls over when she gets to Helen's house, opens up the trunk, and there's Max being eaten alive by crabs. Yeah. Well, eaten dead by crabs. Sorry, not alive. And she runs to go grab Barry and Helen and tell them that, like, this is going on. What do we do? And they get to the trunk, and it's gone. He's gone. The crabs are gone. Everything's gone. And this is my favorite part of this movie because it is so funny. It is so hilarious. She stands in the middle of the road and she goes, what are you waiting for, huh? Come on. What are you waiting for? And it's like, I always felt like someone's going to hit her because she's in the middle of the street. Yes. But it doesn't happen to her, but it does happen in Scary Movie 2 when they rip that seat off.
Two things about this scene that is funny to me. One, it feels like the director went to Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle. It's like, grab the shirts that make your boobs look the best. And because they both are fucking slamming out of their shirts in this scene, in this particular one.
We forgot to say it. They did hook up with the woman who is the sister of the person that they think that they killed, which is David Egan. Yes. They think that they killed him, but we're going to get to that in a second.
The other cool part about this scene is that this particular scene was not written in the movie. This is not a Williamson scripted thing. This was one via fan poll. And a fan got to, they won a poll, and they got to like basically make a scene for the movie. And this is what they had, was her screaming ridiculously. And it's funny that is actually one of the most standout scenes in the movie that people still talk about to this day.
And then people still make fun of, too, in this day. And like,
it works, though, in context of the movie. It is a little like, all right, you're in daylight. You think he's just going to pop out of a bush? Like, But it is fun. And it is like she's going through a lot. She's stressed, so she's got to scream. So
yeah,
it works for me.
It works for me, too. I like it. Well, then they're like, shit, Helen's got to go to that freaking parade thing. So she does that. Ray goes and does his own little research, and Julie goes back to the house where the sister of the guy that she thinks she killed is. And she's given a note by the sister that was hidden from the insurance company. It's because it would look like a suicide. And it says, "I will always know what I did that summer."
Yes.
And Julie is like, this isn't a suicide note. This is a threat.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's not. It's not a threat. It's a suicide note. And like Julie finds out everything that's going on and whatnot. And she finds out that he also had a friend named Billy Blue. And Billy Blue happens to be the name of Ray's boat.
Yes.
So you got two things going on because Barry and Helen are first they're at the daytime parade, and then they're at the beauty pageant. And Barry finally gets his comeuppance. And I feel so bad because if somebody would have just looked up for a second, they would have seen what was going on.
Yeah.
But no one looked up. They all just held her and kept her from going anywhere. If you would have just looked up, you would have saw it.
Yeah.
Come on. So I think he gets off on that too, is the fact that people literally could have done something, but he makes it so they can't. And then she gets driven home by a policeman who's very stupid cop. And she sees that the guy in the slicker is pretending that his car's broken down. She's like, don't get out. Do not get out. And the guy's like, oh, it's all right. I'm going to get out and help him. Like, listen to her. And then he gets gutted and whatnot. And she does an amazing job. She's very strong because she's able to kick the window of the police car. She's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Very hard to do. And then she crawls out and whatnot, and she goes to her family store. And her sister is an asshole. Because this man is basically like walking like Jason or Michael Myers behind her. And the only reason he's gaining on her is because she's trying to get her sister to open the damn door.
Yeah.
And just open the door. She's your sister. And so they finally got the door open, and she doesn't believe her when she's like, go lock the back door. Something's going on. I can't tell you, but you need to do this and call the police. And her sister thought like, oh, well, maybe she drank too much or something. Like, this is bullshit. We're not even going to entertain this. And because of that, Elsa was her next victim. And then Helen, she fought for her life. She really did. She fought hard. Like, she pulled herself up by an elevator shaft. She fought really, really hard.
Yeah.
She fell out a freaking window into construction and trash and whatnot. Now, here's the thing about Helen. And here's the thing about their town. I guess their town are just obsessed with parades. Because they had the parade in the daytime, and then they have another parade at nighttime.
Yes.
So they're just obsessed with parades. And I don't know why the hell she turned around, but she was like 5 seconds away from getting somebody's attention, and she stops what she's doing and she turns around, and it's like, now you deserve to be killed.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So that happened, and like Julie doesn't know what's going on yet. Neither does Ray. And she goes on Ray's boat and sees that it's called Billy Blue, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're the guy."
Yes.
And she runs away to this other man named Ben Willis, who's telling her to get on his boat. And at first, Ben seems like a alright guy, seems like a nice guy, seems chill. And then all of a sudden, he starts going, well, you know what? It's the 4th of July. You kids like to run around, act recklessly, hit people with cars, and pretend that they're dead. And she's like, oh. And like Ray's trying to get to her and everything, but now she's stuck on a boat with the guy.
Yeah.
And like he has all of the bodies staged in there too, because like this is what I like to call her screaming metamorphosis. Because this whole scene, everything in it, the whole segment is just her screaming.
Yes.
As she finds other things.
Well,
I feel so bad.
It's her final girl run,
Yeah.
you know, and this is the most infamous, you know, part of horror movie history. How many times have we seen this exact scene? You know, Friday, Halloween, this is, and that's why it's like, this isn't meta. This is a classic slasher that's really, you know, paying homage to all the greats, because you're basically doing the final girl run to where she's running and she's finding all the killer's work, and he's got it placed all over and they're on ice. And as a kid, this was the one scene that scared the shit out of me, is seeing like the dead people on ice and shit. And I'm like, oh my God. But it's just such a fun scene. And her doing that run and just screaming and fucking being scared like that, that is what makes Jennifer Love Hewitt a final girl. And it's an infamous part of this movie, and I think it really works. And even though we've seen it 100 times in 100 different movies, we didn't really get that in Scream. You know, we just got the big, like, people were dying around Cindy, you know, and she kind of got to witness it. Yeah. Jennifer Love Hewitt got to find all the dead bodies, and now she's like, oh my fucking God. And to me, it adds another layer to the movie, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Is the big chase, is her running and finding all the bodies on ice, and oh my God, that's my friend's face, and they're frozen. Holy shit!
She literally at one point puts her hand down to get traction, and she's like on Barry's face.
Yeah, like it really works. Isn't in terms of the movie.
I feel bad for her though, because she's trying so hard not to get caught, and every 3 seconds she's getting the crap scared out of her. So she's like, ah! And it's like, no, honey, stop! Don't scream! Don't do it!
But yeah, I thought it really worked in terms of the movie, and I think that it's a perfect cap off of everything that we've seen so far. Yeah. It's a great almost finale scene.
Yeah, and then Ray gets there and fights with them and everything, and pushes them into the water, and everything's gonna be great and hot, and and they get back together and everything. And then a year later passes, and Julie is living her life. She actually seems to be a lot better at college. She's talking to Ray on the phone. They're gonna go somewhere, I guess. And she's got the water heating up for a shower, and someone leaves her a note. And all of a sudden, she looks at the note, and it says, I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
And before she even has a second to react, someone crashes through her shower door.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, the second one, we do find out that it was just a dream. But it was still pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, overall, I mean, for me, this movie aged quite well.
It did.
It didn't really take... Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. We do have somebody from YouTube here. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and ignore that. We do not discuss politics and religion on this show. So, sorry, but we're not going to...
But yeah, I thought it was a great finale and a good final scare. That's something that a slasher needs too. So him popping out in that big final scare, it's fun for the audience.
Yeah, it's like when Scream first hit, and like the very last thing after Gail's done reporting and whatnot, and it goes to black, and like you see him, on the screen, like, so it's kind of that thing.
Yeah,
but it's cool. I like it. Honestly, it's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Oh, right, sure.
As far as horror goes.
If Scream wasn't so smart and so well done and such just on a whole nother level, this would be a better movie.
Yeah.
But Scream is just its own thing, and it created so much to where this kind of followed some shit, and it paid homage. And I think, as in terms of a traditional slasher movie that might actually scare you, I think this is more up your alley if you're looking for that. As far as like a complete movie, I think Scream beats it. But this is this falls victim to being compared to Scream, even though you shouldn't. It's not really a comparable movie to Scream.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun on its own standalone, like with great young, beautiful actors and actresses that. And we glossed over Elsa's death a little bit, the sister, but like you have a lot of good horror killing in here, a lot of good kills, a lot of good dramatic and themes and stuff, like being young and growing up and trying to get past mistakes and shit. So even though some of those get lost because it's a slasher, it does hold on to some of them too. And I think that makes it a pretty complete good movie. I give it a 9.3 to this day.
I give it a 9.
Okay.
Just because it does have a lot of tropes.
Yeah.
The other movies have, so I do have to take some points off of that, and also off the fact that no one checked his pulse.
Yeah.
And Helen did not keep running.
Yeah, how's it?
So you get points taken off for both of those. Other than that, really good movie. Very good movie.
It's Sarah Michelle Gellar with an underrated performance too.
Yeah, but also it was because she just started filming Buffy.
Yeah.
So she couldn't be there long.
But she didn't need to be. I thought for what she was in the movie, she was the beautiful, and yeah, Jennifer Love Hewitt's beautiful too, but she was like more like the blonde bombshell. And I thought she played that role perfectly. And her trying to like stay alive and like maneuver through this thing is one of the funner parts of the movie. And like them and Ray and Julie trying to protect her while also finding out what's going on. And the fact that they fail in that. And yeah, I think she does a really good job. Her and Ryan Phillippe, even though those are the two that dies, I think they totally steal the movie away from Ray and Julie.
Yeah.
I think they are two incredible characters. But the whole movie is awesome. And if you haven't seen it by now, what the fuck are you doing? I recommend that anybody watch this. And it's a Halloween staple.
Okay, so now is the time that everybody has been waiting for. I've been telling everyone on TikTok about this for 2 days now.
Okay.
We have a very special announcement. I Know What You Did Last Summer is getting rid of the third movie. It is no longer will be in canon, and they are replacing it with another sequel.
Ooh.
So I Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel, which is what it's called, is coming out on July 18th, 2025.
And that's direct to video, right?
It will be a direct to video, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is reprising Ray.
Oh, that's sick.
And they're trying to get Jennifer Love Hewitt. She said maybe.
Yeah.
So she's got to look at her schedule, but she said maybe she'd do it. Yes. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome that we're gonna get the two. Because what's really sad, I was thinking about this the other day. What's really sad is especially for me, is that in 2 years, in 2026, when Scream 7 finally comes out, it's going to be 30 years old. It's going to be the 30th anniversary.
Yes.
And like in 2027, it's going to be the same thing like that for I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it's like, oh my God, no.
You're getting old, man.
Yeah, I really am. But yeah, I think this is a fun little thing to do. And
this movie's over 27 years old. That's insane.
Yeah, it is. And the movie is as old as you.
Yeah. But that was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Do you have any idea what you want to do next week?
I don't really know because of the fact that some stuff is going on with Tubi right now. I don't really want to get into it, but we kind of want to stay away from that app at the moment. So I would say, what's a good one I've seen lately? It wasn't art though. It wasn't really a horror movie. You pick.
Okay. New movies. New horror movies. Let's see what we got here.
That are actually for free.
Horror movies on streaming. What are we doing next week? Let's find out. Smile 2. That's not on streaming yet, you fucking assholes.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Crockett. That's a good movie. I started watching that.
All right, Mr. Crockett on Hulu. That's what we're going to watch.
Okay.
So we'll see everybody next time. Have a spooky week and give them a big old hootie hoo.
Hootie hoo!
Goodbye.
Goodbye.